and welcome to 64 Squares Official. Today we'll take a look into a game where Praggnanandhaa face off against Alireza Firouzja in round 6 of the 2026 Super Rapid Blitz and Croatia Grand Chess Tour. In an absolute rollercoaster of a chess game, what started as a standard closed Sicilian defense dissolved into one of the most chaotic, blunder-heavy and dramatic endgames you will ever see in elite chess. This was not just a rapid game, it was a roller coaster of precision, time pressure, missed chances and dramatic blunders. Two of the world's best fought until the very last pawn, but only one survived the chaos. So now let's jump into the game. Praggnanandhaa opens with e4 and Firouzja immediately chooses the Sicilian defense, signaling an uncompromising fight. Now knight to c3 and knight to c6. Bishop to b5. The Rosolimer setup avoids heavy open Sicilian theory while aiming for long-term positional pressure. Now knight to d4. Firouzja waits no time, challenging white's bishop and grabbing space. Now a4 and g6. Knight to f3 and bishop to g7. Now kingside castling and e6. Both players develop naturally. Black prepares to castle while keeping central flexibility. Knight takes d4 and c takes d4. White gives up the bishop pair to damage a black's pawn structure, but black obtains an active central pawn. Knight to e2 and knight to e7. d3 and kingside castling. A quiet maneuvering phase. Both players complete development and prepare for the middle game. Now a5 and d5. Firouzja strikes in the center at exactly the right moment, preventing white from expanding comfortably. Now e takes d5 and knight takes d5. Bishop to d2 and e5. Black establishes an impressive pawn center and equalizes comfortably. Now c4 and d takes c3. In pass and move, for those who don't know about it, this is a special pawn move by which a pawn captures another pawn that has advanced 2 squares. Knight takes c3 and bishop to e6. The position simplifies while both sides complete development. Black's idea here is to bring the rook on a8 into action. Now bishop to c4, putting pressure in the center. Now knight takes c3 and bishop takes c3 and bishop takes c4. Firouzja exchanges pieces confidently, heading toward an equal endgame. Now d takes c4 and queen takes d1 and rook f takes d1 and rook f to d8. Queens come off the board. Now the battle becomes purely positional. Now f3 and f6. Both sides strengthen their centers and prevent piece activity. Now king to f1 and bishop to f8. Black prepares to activate the king. Excellent endgame technique. Now a6. Praggnanandhaa gains queenside space. Now b6. A small inaccuracy allowing white additional flexibility. Black just missed rook takes d1 check. This immediate rook exchange would have given Firouzja an even more pleasant endgame. Now king to e2. White missed f4. The engine prefers immediate kingside activity before black fully consolidates. Now king to f7 and a rook to d3 and rook takes d3 and king takes d3. King to e6. King becomes active, the hallmark of strong endgame play. Now p4 and rook to c8. Rook to e1 and bishop to d6. g4, rook to c7. Both players slowly improve their positions without taking unnecessary risks. Now f4 and h5. Praggnanandhaa correctly looks for active play before a black becomes too comfortable. Now f takes e5 and f takes e5. G takes h5 and g takes h5. Pawn exchanges simply the structure while creating targets on both wings. Both players are now running dangerously low on the clock. Now rook to e3. Excellent rook lift. Idea here is to play rook to s3 and attack the h5 pawn. Now king to f5. The idea is to support the h5 pawn if the rook attacks the pawn. Now bishop to d2 and rook to d7. The idea here is to win a pawn by playing bishop to b4 with a discovered check. Now rook to f3 check and king goes to e6. Now king to e4 and rook to c7. Excellent king activity from both sides. Now c5 and b takes c5 and b5. White creates a dangerous pass pawn. Now c4. Black missed rook to g7. This would have kept complete control of white's active rook. Instead, white suddenly gets a real counterplay. Now rook to g3 and bishop to c5. Firouzja defends accurately despite a severe time pressure. Now rook to g6 check. White missed bishop to c3. This was White's biggest opportunity to seize the initiative. The rook checks look active but actually allows black to regroup. Now king to f7 and a rook to s6 attacking the pawn. Now rook to c8. King takes e5. Praggnanandhaa wins a pawn and appears to be pressing. Now rook to b8. Black just missed bishop to g1. This bishop maneuver would have created stronger winning chances. And now rook to s7 check. White missed king to d5. Activating the king immediately would have preserved a maximum pressure. White could have at least won a pawn. If black plays rook takes b5, then black will lose its bishop because black cannot play rook to a5 because of the bishop on d2. Now king to g6 attacking the rook. Now rook to b7 and a rook to d8. Bishop to a5 attacking the rook and a rook goes d3 and rook to c7. This is a huge blunder. This is the decisive mistake. Instead of maintaining king activity, White walks into a tactical sequence. King to e4 was suggested move here. Now bishop to d6 check. A powerful Zug that wins material. Now king to e4. Now bishop takes c7. Firouzja emerges with a clear advantage. Now bishop takes c7 and a rook to b3. Black blunders here. The engine strongly preferred h4, maintaining a winning advantage. Instead, White gets another chance. Now b6 and a takes b6 and a7. Now rook to a3. White's pass pawn suddenly becomes dangerous. Now bishop takes b6, king to f6 and king to d4, c3 and bishop to c5 attacking the rook. White missed king to d3. This blunder allows Firouzja to eliminate White's dangerous passer. Rook takes a7. Black regains full control. If the bishop takes the rook, then black pawn will simply march forward. Now king takes c3 and a rook to d7. The idea here is to block the king, and black king can simply march forward to grab the pawn. Now h4 and king to f5. Firouzja lets much of his advantage slip. The stronger move was rook to c7. Instead, White returns to equality. Bishop to e3 and king to e4. The smoke has cleared from an earlier scramble, leaving us with the textbook rook versus bishop endgame. With perfect play, this is a stone cold draw. Alireza tries to centralize his king immediately, but Pragg holds firm. A bishop to g5 and a rook to d5. Pragg shuffles his bishop back to g5, anchoring his defensive perimeter. Alireza activates his rook to d5. He's poking, prodding, and testing Pragg's patience. Now king to c2 and king to e5. King to c3 and king a6. Bishop to e3 and king to f6. The grandmasters enter a rhythmic dance. White's king moves between c2 and c3, while Alireza pulls his king back to e6 and f6. It looks like shuffling, but it's real psychological warfare on the clock. Now bishop to g5 check, and king to g6, bishop to e3 and king to f5, bishop to g5 and king a4, king to c2 and a rook to d3. Alireza starts gaining ground, marching his king up to e4 and placing his rook on d3. He's slowly clamping down on White's territory. Even though the engine sits dead at 0, you can feel the pressure mounting as Pragg's clock dips lower. Now bishop to f6 and king to e3. Blunder by White, and there it is. Under immense time pressure, pressure finally cracks Pragg. He plays a bishop to f6, completely abandoning the defense of the e2 square. The evaluation bar instantly rocketed to nearly -5. Alireza steps his king forward to e3 and Pragg is completely lost here. Alireza finds the right follow-up. Now bishop to e7 and king to d4. Another blunder by black, but chess is a game between two humans. With his own clock ticking down to single digits, Alireza completely misses the winning continuation. King to e2 and plays king to d4. Stepping away from the action just like that, the win completely evaporates. A bishop to f6 check and king to c4. King to e3 was best here, a double blunder. You cannot make this up. The adrenaline is pumping. And right after getting a second life, Pragg immediately throws it away again with the bishop to f6. He puts the bishop right back into the danger zone, but incredible scenes in Zagreb. Alireza misses it a second time with king to c4. Mutual blindness from two of the best speed chess players on the planet. Now bishop to g5, rook to d4, bishop to f6 and rook to d5, bishop to g5, and king to c5. After 3 straight game-ending blunders, both players suddenly snap back to reality. Pragg recenters his bishop on g5, and Alireza moves his king back to c5. Order has been restored, and it is a technical draw once again. Now king to c3 and king to d6. Now bishop to f4 check, and king to e6, bishop to e3, and king to f5. Alireza changes his strategy. He realizes he cannot breach the queen side, so he begins an ambitious king march all the way to the king side to escort his long h4 pawn. Pragg checks him once, but Alireza's king keeps advancing. A bishop to g5 and king to g4, king to c2 and king to f3, king to c3 and king to g3. Look at this king march. Black's king has walked all the way from d4 to g3. Pragg has safely kept his own king on c3 and his bishop on g5. Move 74. Pragg has successfully weathered the storm, maintained the draw, and survived the worst of it. But literally seconds left on the clock. Final fatal trap is about to be struck on the very next move. Now king to c2. This is a catastrophic blunder. This allows black to play rook to d4. Suddenly black invades decisively. Now king to c3. Rook takes h4. Firouzja wins the key pawn, bishop takes h4 check, and king takes h4. The bishop disappears, leaving black with a completely winning king and pawn ending. The black king escorts the remaining pawns home. Now king to d2 and king to g3, king to e2, and Praggnanandhaa resigns after this move, and king to g2. Now black can simply promote the pawn on h5. So now let's take a look at the game summary. A well-played Arosolimo Sicilian entered an equal endgame. Firouzja missed an early improvement with a rook to d1 check. Praggnanandhaa missed an important chance with bishop to c3 on move 38. White's major blunder, rook to c7 on move 44, handed black the advantage. Firouzja returned the favor with rook to b3 on move 46, allowing white back into the game. Another white blunder, bishop to c5 on move 51, restored black's winning chances. Both players made inaccuracies in severe time trouble. The decisive mistake came with the king to c2 on move 75, after which Firouzja converted confidently. So, an incredible rapid encounter featuring superb endgame technique and repeated momentum swings and relentless time pressure drama. Even the world's elite can stumble when every second counts, and this game was proof that one final mistake can outweigh hours of brilliant play. So, if you enjoyed this analysis, don't forget to like, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to 64 Squares Official for more Grandmaster game breakdowns, technical masterpieces, and chess content. So, that's it for today, and I'll see you in the next one.